Hey everybody, Alex from AdaptableStrength.com here to give you an introduction to lifting. This is a series that is designed for someone who has never touched a weight before in their life, does not know how to proceed, and needs a place to start. If you've been lifting for a while, this may honestly be a little basic for you. However, this is designed to give someone an introduction that goes into every single little detail that's going to allow them to start without everything being overwhelming. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and get into the presentation. The goal of this, remember, is if you've never lifted weight before. So the first thing you need to really make sure you know is, why are you lifting weights? With a good why, you can progress very, very easily for a long time. And whether you're looking for strength, you're trying to build your self-esteem, project a certain image of yourself to the outside world, or just give yourself a challenge, it doesn't matter. If you're going to try and just make sure you're doing well 50 years from now as you're running around at old age and trying to figure out exactly what you're needing to do, then phenomenal. That's fine. It's never too late to start. Even if you're at 42 years old right now and have never touched a weight, set yourself up for the next 50 years. Go for it. Give yourself the ability to have freedom later on. And doesn't matter if you're 12 or 82. Sometimes just lifting is great just for your mental health, let alone your physical health. There are so many benefits that I really hope that you don't let yourself get scared away from lifting, from things feeling intimidating and overwhelming. So, with the why out of the way, let's first take a look at some of the different muscle groups. These are the muscles in the legs organized for lifting purposes. We can go into much greater in-depth detail if you really want to, but for all intents and purposes, when you are training, you're looking at broad muscle groups, not specifics. You're looking at your front of your thighs as your quads all together. You're not looking at each quad individually. If you want to start learning the difference between training your vastus medialis versus your vastus lateralis, go for it. However, if you're just starting out, don't go into that kind of detail because it's not needed. Let yourself simply understand, cool, your quads are part of your leg. They get trained as a group. Your hamstrings, they're the other part of your thigh. Quads on the front, hamstrings on the back. Cool, your thighs are covered now. You don't need to worry about all the different muscles that are in there. Glutes, they're simply just going to be your butt. Don't worry about the different types of glutes that are inside of you. It doesn't matter. Glutes are glutes. Calves are calves. Then you take a look at what's on the front part of your upper body. You have your chest, biceps, abs. These are muscles that most people are familiar with. And just because you can't see your abs doesn't mean they're not there. Everyone has them. It's just a matter of whether they're visible. What's going to determine their visibility is your body fat level. If you have body fat concealing it, you won't be able to see them. If your body fat is low enough that you can see them, then congratulations, you can see them. Now, the thing that I do want to mention is that not everything is purely perfect. Your shoulders, they technically wrap around your front to also reach your backside, and they are composed of three major heads of it. But for all intents and purposes, for right now, they can be trained in the front, they can be trained in the back. Keep it simple. Then here are your muscles for the backside of your body. Your back, again, is another one of those really complex sets of muscles where there are all sorts of different muscles involved. However, we're going to simplify and just say back. It's not going to be the same as your lower back, which is going to be worked in a lot of different ways that are essentially going to be incidental. It's not something you need to focus on training your lower back, so I don't even have it listed because we're trying to keep it simple as an introductory format for you to learn. So your back is going to be listed right there. You have your traps. They're going to be another big part of your back that some people also kind of qualify as shoulders, but for all intents and purposes, if you look at the diagram here, it shows they are mostly going to be on your backside, so I consider them part of your back. Triceps, opposite side of your biceps, the back of the upper parts of your arms. Forearms, they're going to be another ones that kind of go all the way around, but it's kind of easy to group them with back. And that'll make more sense because we're going to go look into this fancy chart of how you organize your muscles when it comes to training. And there are different layers of this, but for all intents and purposes, you're looking at the bottom musculature contributing to when you train the top musculature here. And you can look at this in all sorts of different ways. Now, what I want to make sure that you see is that the front delts, middle delts, rear delts here, they all are the different components that make up your shoulders. And they're going to be useful in terms of different motions that you're going to be doing. If you are training your chest, there's a good chance you're hitting front delt as well. But you're mainly going to be hitting chest and triceps together with good form. If you are pressing like a push-up, you're going to be using not just your chest, but also your triceps. And we can take that logic and go for all sorts of different examples here. The biceps are going to be involved whenever you pull something in towards you, but depending on the angle of your body, you're going to be hitting maybe a bunch of back as well. And this goes on and on and on. The one thing I also want to point out is that's a little kind of an outlier are glutes. Glutes are going to be hit kind of on the side whenever you do a lot of different quad motions or hamstring motions. If you do a stiff-legged deadlift, your hamstrings are going to be hit, but also your glutes. If you're going to be doing a squat, especially deep squats, your quads are going to be hit, but also those glutes. So you have a lot of different ways to categorize the muscles as you train them. And you can go ahead and try to take the next step here and look at it in terms of the best way to split your training up. And there are varying layers of complexity in which you can do this. The very simplest one is just doing your whole body in a session. That's a solid way to do it, and it's my recommendation to start. And what you'll have later on in the series is a full framework and program to train your whole body together over time, and it'll give you a nice solid place to start. We're trying to make this simple, so I'm going to give you all the basic information and then a way to execute that information inside of the gym. Now, one of the most common questions is simply, what is the best way to organize training? And the short answer is that there's not one. Every single person has different goals, different body types, different strengths, different weaknesses, and therefore different programs will end up being better for them than they would be for somebody else. These are some of the more common ways to split up your training, with the most common ways being the two ones in the middle. Whether you're training upper body and then lower body and alternating back and forth, or you can split the upper body into half and do the push half of the upper body, then the pull half of the lower body in their own the pull half of the upper body in their own different sessions. Now, you'll notice here I have them split in half. If you do the push part of your upper body, followed by your legs, which is then followed by the pull part of your upper body, you have a good way of splitting up the difficulty factor as well as the muscles that work together. For example, if you are training your legs, you don't want to do a good set of squats when your back is sore. It's going to interfere. So a nice strategy to do is to make sure you train your back after you train your legs. And so there's logic to each one of these styles of training, and you find the one that fits you the best, and you stick with it for a while, and you see how it does. And if you like it, you can just keep on doing that forever. But there may be a time where you're like, okay, this has been a good start, but I want to take it to the next level. And then you start fine-tuning based off of what you yourself have learned through your own training. And that's going to be what's going to lead to the best results possible. Is the truth that you might have some nuances that mean what's the textbook perfect answer may not actually be the one for you. Because of that, I like to coach my athletes and my clients that the textbook answer is not the end point, it's the starting point. Once you can hit that textbook answer, you might find it's not everything that it should have been, in which case you then tweak it to find your answer. But sad truth, not everyone is going to be different than the textbook answer. It's the textbook answer because it applies for a lot of people. And so you may find you're perfectly in line with the textbook answer for variables 1 through 8, but maybe on 9 and 10 you want to change it. But the only way to find this out is with your own experimentation. So keep giving yourself options, but make sure you stick with something long enough that you can find that answer reliably. Now, one of the things that's definitely going to be true when you are training is going to be putting in effort. If you don't put in much effort, you're not going to get very much in terms of the results. Now, I have a whole entire video talking about effort and really going in depth on how to quantify it and utilizing it for your own training in the most extreme manner possible. However, I'm going to keep it very simple for this one. And you have this one sentence that can summarize effort for you in the gym, making sure that you can go enough. And I hate reading off the presentation, but I'm going to do it for you because this sentence is really something that if you can ingrain in yourself, you'll be able to get a lot more progress than a lot of the people you see just guessing in the gym. And it's that you need to execute each working set so that the weight starts to involuntarily slow down. And once that happens, do another 1 to 3 reps without sacrificing your form. That's it. If you can maintain your form and let the weight involuntarily slow down, it means that you are hitting a really solid level of intensity that's going to allow you to press your muscles' ability to recover. And as long as you do enough that it's hard to recover, but you can still recover, that's going to be the recipe for you to get the most out of your workouts possible. And so then we come into the big question of how do you really get started? What do you need? A basic plan is nice and everything, but you technically don't even need that. You can just go in and have fun in the gym and experiment. So the very minimum for all you need is just the decision to start and the desire to learn, whether that's through just guessing yourself in the gym and just playing around with some of the machines or seeking dedicated information. Those are going to be really key factors to get going. And then as far as the time goes, you can start off just doing a 30-minute or a 60-minute workout just once a week. And that's great. That's really solid. That's a lot better than doing 0 sessions per week. And the way I'll phrase it is this. If you go from 0 to 1 session per week, you're going to get a whole lot of progress. You go from 1 session a week to 2 sessions a week, you're going to get a significant degree greater in progress. You go from 2 to 3 reps per week, you've got a good solid progress jump from that. 3 to 4, you're getting some progress jump from 3 to 4. There's definitely more progress. 4 to 5, yeah, you're increasing the progress again, but the margins are really starting to decrease now. And then you go to 5 times per week to 6 times a week, their margin gets to be much smaller in terms of progress. Again, it's better to be more often, but you have to make sure it fits in your schedule, it fits in your life, and that it fits into your amount of willpower you have and your ability to recover for those muscles. So more is not always better, because if you're lacking on one or more of those, then it might not be a good idea to increase to that next level of frequency. But it takes you to find out. And then I would also say the last thing is to make sure it's actually safe for you to do it. Doctor's permission is always a good thing to have, because if you have some kind of health condition that makes it detrimental for you to work out, then don't work out. It's supposed to add to your life, not take away from it. And you'll notice there are a lot of things on that list of what is needed to get started. So what you don't need is this is a huge list. It's a really large list. Like it cannot be understated how many things you don't need. And one of the things that bugs me in terms of today's world is that there are a lot of people who think that, oh, well, I don't have that gym fit. Oh, I don't have that piece of equipment. Oh, I don't have X, Y, or Z, and therefore they can't go to the gym. They have to have all of that in place before they go. No, definitely not. You do not need a certain anything to lift. You'll notice that one of the things that's even listed that you don't need in there is motivation. You don't need motivation to lift. I've been training for 24 years. Do you think I was motivated that entire time? No, not in any way, shape, or form. Motivation is lovely. It's nice to have, but it is fleeting. And sometimes what you have to do is just decide to start. That's why I have listed needed the decision to start, not the motivation to start. It's the decision to start. You don't have to be motivated to do something. I'm pretty sure most of the working population aren't motivated to do their work. They just have to do it, and so they do it. Maybe the gym has to be that way for you for your own health, but if you can find a way to enjoy it, that would be phenomenal and be so much better than just forcing yourself to do it. But I don't want you to feel that you should even care about others' opinions when you're in the gym, because the real honest truth about it is not everyone is looking at you, and the amount of people that are is a lot smaller than you think. People don't go to the gym to just judge other people. People go to the gym to improve themselves. I'm sure that's not a 100% true statement, but anyone who is worth their salt, they're not in there to judge you. They're in there to improve themselves. And they're the kind of people that if you go up and you actually ask them for help, they'll bend over backwards to help you. The amount of times that I have seen people in the gym help other people is phenomenal. Whether it's just like, hey, can you give me a spot? And the person does it. Maybe they'll offer a piece of advice or two, or maybe you end up just becoming friends. There's a reason why gym friends become real friends. And some of the longest lasting friends that I've ever had in my life are people I've met in the gym. There's a good, solid selection bias when you go to the gym because they're people who work hard and they care. So I want to make sure you can be included in that. And if you need any more, I'll be happy to help you out. We've got part 2 of this that's going to be coming out, and that's going to be a lot more in depth on what it actually is like to start inside of the workout itself. If you want any more information, I've got some articles and other free info on adaptablestrength.com, and you've got some short form learning you can do over at Instagram. It's going to be at Adaptable Strength. And if you just want to skip everything else, then just go ahead and just send me an email, alex@adaptablestrength.com. But that's it. Thanks, everybody. I hope that helped you out. And just a friendly reminder, you're not doing this alone.